Hello everyone, it's Myung-Jan. Today I am going to read S5 5083. Amistad. Chapter 1, Escape. The young man lay in darkness in the bottom of the Amistad. The ship was moving up and down in the stormy winds. Above him he could hear running feet and loud voices. The men who were trying to sail the ship through the seas. The Sink couldn't understand the man's language, but he understood well that he was not a free man now. He and the 49 other young Africans kidnapped from their homes in Sierra Leone. Heavy chains held them down. The ceiling was so low that they were unable to stand up, almost unable to move. The smell of many bodies so close together was terrible. After months at sea like this, they were weak, but they were also very angry. Sink remembered the long sea journey from Sierra Leone to Cuba. In Havana, the capital of Cuba, the kidnappers sold the Africans as slaves. Now the Africans were on a second journey. Spanish sailors were taking them to work in sugar fields for the men who bought them. But at last, in the middle of this storm, Sink thought there was a hope of escape. There was a metal spike in a bit of old wood near him. He pulled and pulled at the spike. It was hard work, and it was terribly hot in the ship. The water from his black skin ran down into the wood round the spike. Very slowly, the spike began to move. Just a few more minutes, and suddenly it was out. He pushed the metal into the lock on the chain round his neck and turned it. Left and right, left and right. At last, it opened. He was free. Think unlocked the chains that held the other Africans, and he unlocked all their angry feelings too. Like lions, brave and proud, they followed him up to the top of the ship into the storm. They met a Spanish sailor standing at the top of some stairs. He had no time to shout to the others. Sink took the man's knife and killed him. Next, they broke open a door. Inside the room, they found a large number of long, heavy knives. With angry shout, they went to find the rest of the men. The fire was hard and bloody, and the men's screams were terrible. But the Africans could show them no pity. They had to win. Some of the sailors and the ship's captain were trying to escape in a boat. In a minute, Sink was in front of the captain. The knives crashed together. The captain was strong, but Sink was younger than stronger. The captain fell to his knee, asking Sink not to kill him. But Sink thought, this man has helped to take me away from my home, and he drove his knife through the captain's heart. The Africans had won their freedom. They now wanted to find two men called Ruiz and Montes. They were the men who bought the Africans as slaves in Havana. During the fight on the Amistad, Ruiz and Montes hid in the bottom of the ship. Zeng turned to the other. The men who think that we belong to them, he said, find them. Chapter 2, towards the east. I say we kill them both, Zeng told Yamba, a big strong fighter. He pointed at Ruiz and Montes, who were now standing, chained to posts at the back of the ship. We can sail the ship home without the help. Yamba shook his large head. We know nothing about sailing. Only those two men can sail the ship. Think thought about it and finally agreed. Perhaps Yamba was right. The Africans had no idea where they were, but Sink knew that the sun came up in the east, and he knew after months at sea that they were sailing away from the morning sun and from home. So he went up to Ruiz and Montes. He pointed his knife towards the morning sun, spoke to them in his language. He tried to show them that they must turn the boat around. Ruiz seemed to understand. He took the ship's wheel, and the ship began to turn towards the east. A few days later, Sink was worried. He was the captain of this ship, but really he was the son of a rice farmer in his African village, the richest farmer, but he knew nothing about ships. Sink knew that the Amistad sailed east towards Africa during the day, but last night, while he was sleeping, a strange noise woke him out. The sails seemed to be moving in an unusual way, and the stars seemed to be turning round in the sky. What did this mean? Sink went to Ruiz, pointed at the star, and spoke in his language. Ruiz didn't seem to understand. Sink lifted his knife to Ruiz's neck. Chris angrily took his hands off the wheel, offered it to Sink since Sink knew that he couldn't sail the ship. He gave the wheel back to Louis, but he guessed that at night the ship was not sailing towards Africa. He guessed, but he couldn't be sure. The next night, Sink said to Yamba, "Something is wrong. Look at the stars turning in the sky above us." "You worried too much," Yamba said, and he walked away. Long hot days and weeks passed on the open sea. The other Africans thought that they were sailing back to their family, their farms and their life. Only Sink noticed as the moon moved and the ship turned again. There was not a lot of food now and very little water. He began to feel worried and angry. "When will we get home?" they asked Sink. A last fella, a small man with very pointed teeth, to land in front of them. "Nongdo bo," he shouted home. The others began to shout with happiness. Only Sink, looking towards the land, knew that they were not home. He told Yamba, Fala, Bukai, and Feather to come with him in a small boat. They soon found water and carried as much as possible towards the beach. As they came out of some tree, they stopped. The large ship was sailing straight towards the Amistad. The Africans ran to their boats and started back to their ship, ready to fight again. Now, men in long boats from the larger ship were coming towards them. Other boats were going towards the Amistad. Was getting ready to sail, and then it began to move. Eric ordered the others, "If we can get to the Amistad first, perhaps we can still escape." Then they heard the sound of guns. The man was shooting at them. But Fala, Yamba, and the others jumped into the water, hoping to swim back to the beach. Sink jumped in too, but he swam towards the open sea. He wanted either to swim back to Africa or to die. Dying was better than becoming a slave. His strong arms carried him through the water. Still the men followed him. Was there no escape? They were almost on top of him now. He swam down and disappeared. Down and down, Sink was ready to die. Then suddenly he thought he heard a voice calling him. A woman's voice, his wife's. She was calling him home. Doesn't Sink turned in the water. When he finally came up, the sun was just shining straight into his eyes. A second later, he saw the guns that were pointing at his head. The end.